Yeah, it certainly is. Yeah, good afternoon, guys. Incredible. The merry-go-round of managers at Watford continues. They're now looking for their fifth manager in less than a year. Rob Edwards, as you say, Sam, only in situ for 10 matches, having left what looked like a pretty stable job of Forest Green Rovers to take the plunge into the Championship. I guess he knew that the appointment came with risk attached, but I think he was under the impression that things might be different this time at Vicarage Road, that he might be given longer to turn it around. Reading between the lines, it sounds like there has been a potential fallout between him and the sporting director, who we were led to believe was leaving the club around about a week ago. Looks like the sporting director is still in situ, and it's Rob Edwards who's been made the fall guy.
You said that he thought it might be different this time around at Vicarage Road. Why would he have believed that?
Well, I think he was seeking certain assurances, as I say, because he was pretty settled at Forest Green Rovers, was doing a good job there. I guess when the opportunity to manage in the Championship comes available, it's difficult to turn down. But I understand that he did want some assurances that maybe the hire and fire nature of the way that things have been run at Watford was about to change. It was a different appointment, wasn't it? I remember having this conversation with Simon when he got the job. Usually Watford have recruited from abroad, usually managers with very little pedigree in this country. They went for a young, up-and-coming coach from the EFL, as a lot of clubs in the Championship did this summer. So I think the indications were there that maybe they wanted to run the club in a different way. But ultimately their aim this season is to bounce back into the Premier League at the first time of asking. They look at the league table, only 10 games in, but Watford languishing in 10th place. And they've decided that maybe Rob Edwards isn't the man to bring Premier League football back to Hertfordshire.
Only 6 points off the automatic promotion places, only 1 point off the playoffs. It does seem a little bit knee-jerk. We'll get Simon's reaction in just a second, but we understand that they've already identified a replacement.
Well, Slaven Bilic is the name that is doing the rounds. I'm yet to get that officially stood up, but you can understand the attraction. He is proven in the Championship. Obviously, it didn't end too well for him at West Bromwich Albion, but he's got that promotion on his CV. The other name, actually, that's been mentioned is Isco, and it's not unlike Watford to reappoint former managers time and again. But I think what we know about Watford, usually when they make a decision to part company with one manager, they don't let things linger for too long. They do usually have a replacement lined up. So I think both of those names are under serious consideration.
Yeah, I think in the last month he did an interview in which he suggested that he'd turned down the opportunity to take over Olympiacos, but he was waiting for an opportunity to get back in England. He's apparently flown into London. It looks like that is sorted. Thank you very much. That's Alex Crook bringing us up to date with the situation at Watford. Alex, I don't know if he was very excited about this or he'd been stopped in the middle of a run, but he sounded a bit breathless there, didn't he? Maybe he's sort of out jogging or something.
He was eating or something.
No, I was trying to talk about his health regime. I mean, the fact that he's on it, you know, he's doing his running now. Yeah, he's doing his running now. But what do you make of the hire fire policy at Watford? Does it make sense to you or not?
Yes and no. I mean, it works for Watford. I mean, it depends what you think Watford should be.
How does it work for Watford?
Well, it works for Watford in terms of they get up and down into the Premier League relatively regularly. And depends what you think their aspirations are and what they're prepared to spend and what their model is. If you think it's a football decision and you stay in Premier Leagues or not stay in the Premier Leagues by the policies that they're taking, well, I don't know. But from a Watford point of view, what would you expect them to achieve? They don't spend huge amounts of money in the transfer market. They don't spend huge amount of investment in the football club. They've got an ownership model that they don't muck about. If they don't fancy somebody, they get rid of them. Now, I'm not saying it's ideal. I think the only person that will be slightly smiling at this is Del Vince, because I don't think he was particularly impressed with the way that Rob Edwards decided to leave Forest Green. And it's ironic how the bottle spins. You think your grass is greener somewhere else, and ultimately it's not. I can't speak to them. I mean, I saw him the other day talking on one of the football shows where he was talking about the fact that it hadn't started the way he had anticipated it, and things weren't going the way that he wanted them to. But 10 games in, 14 points on the table, with a side that the ownership model would have been hoping was competing to get up, it's not a disaster. You're not out of touch. You're
1 point out of the automatic.
You'd like to see perhaps a better return, but it's not something you'd go, oh, hang on a second, I've really made the wrong decision here. But you look at their model, and you look at the managers that they've appointed, and to some extent, and you're going to go, how does that work? But depends what you think Watford are capable of achieving. If you think that they're capable of achieving, I mean, Tony Bloom has spent 350 million quid to keep Brighton in the Premier League. I mean, is that a model that we advertise as a wonderful model? Or is it just simply what you're prepared to do?
Keep themselves in the Premier League for about 9 years.
Burnley?
Yeah.
Very little.
Well, see, that's what...
Very little. And they've got a good manager who they worked with. And surely there's a different model for Burnley,
That's why I think it is. It's not a business model that you'd want to work. hire and fire managers quickly.
No, I don't think it's great.
Sure, if you get into the Premier League, the hardest part is getting there. People say the hardest part is staying. The hardest part is getting there. And with every transfer window, you should get further away from relegation because you should be buying properly, buying players that will keep you in the Premier League. And I would suggest that Watford, in their recent history, should have established themselves and got into the Premier League and established themselves in the Premier League.
Well, they did do for a while and then ended up getting relegated, and then they've yo-yoed for the last 3 or 4 seasons.
Then that's down to the owners, because the owners are responsible for buying the players there.
And for sacking several managers.
They got into the Premier League. They were picking the players.
The owners are responsible for buying the players.
Yeah, they would. You think of all the clubs?
I'm asking you.
Yeah, and
I'm asking.
there's no doubt the head coach of Watford has too much
said.
for say in recruitment, that's for sure.
Jim White and Simon Jordan. Monday to Friday mornings from 10 on AM, on DAB, via the talkSPORT app and on your smart speaker. talkSPORT.